All right. Well, welcome to 155. Hi. Hi. My name's Brandon. If you don't know who I am, my name's Brandon. I'm going to be talking to you guys tonight. So, welcome. Hope you guys are looking forward to a good evening. So, tonight we are kicking off a 3-week series about the story of Jesus. And this is leading up to Easter, of course. So, tonight I get to kind of kick this whole thing off. And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, Jesus did a lot in his life, so what are we going to talk about that kind of related to Jesus that would kind of help you guys understand who Jesus was a little bit better and maybe see a different side of Jesus and kind of talk about that a little bit more. And maybe the video intro that I put together there might give you a little bit of hint about what we're going to talk about. But when most people think of Jesus, they think of this guy. They think of this very soft, mild-mannered, like polite, and like very, almost demure, and just like this very gentle being of Jesus. And while Jesus definitely had that side to him, that wasn't the complete picture of Jesus. So I thought tonight I would talk to you about maybe a different side of Jesus a little bit, and that's the Jesus that gets angry. Now, maybe he's not so angry he's going to rip the top off of school desk or, punch a clown in the face like they did in the video. But Jesus definitely got angry. And there was examples even where he got angry at his disciples. These are like the guys that he, surrounded himself with, yet he got angry with them. Like he was praying before he went to the cross in the garden, and he just told his guys, he's like, just stay awake and keep guard for me. And every time he went out there to talk to them, they were asleep. And he's like, what are you guys doing, right? So he got angry at people just like maybe you get angry at people as well. So there's some good examples. So I want to start off with this story that'll be up on the screen there. And it's this. It says, it's in John 2:13, and it says, it was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration, so Jesus went to Jerusalem. In the temple area, so kind of our church, if you think of that as the temple, it's kind of our church today. In the temple area, he saw merchants selling cattle, sheep, and doves for sacrifices, because back then they believed in, you had to sacrifice an animal to atone for your sins. And so if you had a busy, maybe you didn't do the right thing at prom, you're like, I need to buy a cow. Can I buy how big of a cow do you have? Because I got a lot to atone for. So maybe, so people are there selling these animals, essentially making money off the fact that people need these to atone for their sins. And then he saw dealers at tables exchanging foreign money. So it was like other people were traveling. They're like, oh yeah, we'll make some change for you. Just keep a little for ourselves. And it says, Jesus made a whip from some ropes and chased them all out of the temple. Now, if you're so mad, you find some rope and just curl it up and I'm going to beat somebody with it. I don't know if ever been hit with an electrical cord or something. That's kind of what I'm feeling like it might be. That would hurt. So it says, Jesus made a whip for some ropes and chased them out of the temple. He drove out the sheep and cattle, scattered the money changers' coins over the floor, and turned over their tables. Then, going over to the people who sold doves, he told them, get these things out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a marketplace. And this is really one of the first big examples we see of Jesus where he shows not that gentle, loving side, and he is upset. Jesus is very upset. He is like, what are you guys doing? He's like, this is supposed to be, the church, the temple. You're in here making money, and he is upset. And he's walking around whipping people with a rope. He's running over and flipping tables. He is so upset, showing people that he is angry about what is going on in his Father's house. He's upset about this, and it makes him so angry that he's kind of losing his cool, right? He's flipping tables over, scaring poor people that are just there maybe listening to the message. But he's trying to prove a point that he is upset at what people are doing, that they're sinning and creating this disaster around his Father's house, the church. And Jesus got very angry about sin, and not just
sin itself, but even the idea of like leading other people to sin. If he thought you were doing something that was kind of leading somebody else down the wrong path, he got angry at that as well. In Luke 17:2, he says, "It would be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone or hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to fall into sin." It's better you sleep with the fishes than cause somebody to fall into sin, because the repercussions of that are going to be worse than drowning with the fishes. So number one on your outline is this: even Jesus got angry. Even Jesus got angry. And I want you to know that the reason I'm talking to you about this tonight is because getting angry is okay. It can be okay to get angry, and even Jesus got angry. But what you need to realize is, are you justified in the anger you have? What is it that's causing you to be so angry? Do you have road rage because that one guy pulled out in front of you and it just like ruins your entire day? Like, are you mad the entire way to school because one guy pulled out in front of you? It's like, is it really worth it to be upset for like a half hour over an incident that honestly caused no harm and maybe made you 5 seconds later getting to school or whatever? Right? It's like, it's not worth getting so upset over stuff like that. Sometimes people get angry over jealousy. I don't know if anybody's, admitted that they got angry because of jealousy, but like maybe like your older sibling got something or got to do something that you didn't get to do. And you were angry at your sibling, or maybe angry at your parents because your older sibling got a phone and you didn't get a phone, or whatever it could be, right? Maybe there's some jealousy there that is causing some anger. Or maybe your anger is just coming from resentment. You're just like so fired up over something and just like resent somebody or some situation so much that you're just holding on to this anger. And a lot of people take past hurt from their life and kind of stew that up as anger in their current life. So also, let me tell you this other story about Jesus getting angry. In Mark 31:6, up on the screen it says this: "Another time, Jesus went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them," talking about the Pharisees, "were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus." They were jealous, so they were angry. They were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. Now, some of you know what the Sabbath is, some of you don't, so I'll tell you. Back in the olden days, they said that there was a Sabbath day where you should do zero work. You should do nothing that even resembles any kind of work whatsoever. And so they took this like so literal, like you weren't allowed to pull out a chair to sit down because that was work. It was just like completely ridiculous. So the Pharisees were trying to catch Jesus doing something that resembled work on the Sabbath. And so this is what Jesus did. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." Then Jesus asked them, the Pharisees, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath? To do good or to do evil? To save life or to kill?" But they remained silent because nobody wants to answer that question. He looked around at them in anger. Circle anger. Oh, you can't. It's not on your outline. Good luck. Deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. And then here's the key, this last sentence. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus. He broke a rule that they kind of made up on their own about working on the Sabbath. And by working, he healed a man from being crippled. They were so angry and jealous and had resentment towards him that they want to kill him for it. That's pretty upset. I know we all, anybody here said, "I'm going to kill that person," just like hypothetically, right? You're like, "Oh, I'm going to kill them," right? But you never actually like thought the whole thing out and like plotted with other people. Hopefully, if you did, we need to talk after service. But the Pharisees were so upset they wanted to kill him. And this is the funny part, and this is the thing that kind of happens a lot of times, is that they were so upset and angry that they wanted to kill him over something that honestly didn't affect them. It didn't affect them at all, yet they were so angry they wanted to kill him. I don't know if you guys have ever got angry about something that didn't affect you. Like maybe a friend of yours got hurt and you were so angry at that person that maybe hurt your friend or whatever. But at the end of the day, it didn't actually affect you, but you were so angry over it. My friend Chandler that's up here always says this. He says, if it doesn't affect your paycheck or your family, it doesn't really matter. And that's kind of maybe something you need to think about, maybe not those exact terms, but as you start to get angry about something, it's like, does that really at the end of the day affect me? I mean, is it changing my life at all that thing happened? That thing occurred? You know, it's not really affecting me, but why am I getting so angry? And that's what's so weird about the Pharisees being so upset about this is, honestly, him healing people is not affecting them that much. So that leads us to number 2 on your outline. You ready to fill this in? Anger can lead to sin. Anger can lead to sin. And this is the important thing to note about the example of Jesus getting angry in these examples I've talked about. He never lets his anger go all the way to sin. He's angry, he shows his anger, he flips tables, maybe he whips some folks. I don't think that's technically a sin. Good to know. But he never actually lets it lead to sin, but often we do in the things that the way we behave and respond to anger. Because I'm not sure if you're willing to admit it, but I know I've done some stuff like, somebody made me angry and I cussed them out. Oh, yeah, all you with your halos out there going, ooh, like you've never, yeah. I've got angry at somebody and punched them out of anger. I've got angry at somebody and gossiped about them. Oh, maybe all your halos aren't so big now. Gossip is a sin. So maybe anger can lead to sin if you just think about how you respond to it. And that's what we need to be careful of because, like I said, it's okay to have anger. Jesus was angry about things, but you can't let it lead to sin. That's where you have to be really careful about it leading to sin. And you have to protect yourself from that danger of sin. And there's really kind of 2 types here that I want to talk about. And one is like that sudden rage, like the anger guy from Inside Out where he's like, flaming head, right? Like that instant rage, like somebody says something to you, immediately snap at them or lose your mind over something. Anybody have a quick temper like that where they'll get, yeah, yep. You have to be very careful about that quick rage because what you do in that instant can be the sin that can hurt you for so long because you let something really kind of get the best of you. That anger, that instant rage really got the best of you. And in Matthew 5:22 it says this. It says, "But I say, if you are even angry with somebody, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot," I love the Bible. If you call someone an idiot, that's great, that's in the Bible. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. So you could get in trouble like legally or whatever. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell. So there's kind of 2 escalations here, right? One is like, hey, yeah, if you call somebody an idiot, you could get in trouble. But if you take it to the level of sin, now we're talking about the fires of hell? That sounds a lot worse than, being brought before the court, right? So you have to be so careful about that instant rage. And I have a really short temper. It's gotten a lot longer as I got older, but man, when I was little, I had a short temper and like things would set me off and I got in all sorts of trouble because either my mouth or my my swinging arms would get me in a lot of trouble before I even had time to think about it. I'm sure none of you ever get in trouble from your mouth with your parents or anything. So while you just have to be careful about that level of how much you react and that it doesn't lead you to sin. And then there's another type of anger that I think is actually a little bit worse than that sudden rage. And that is what I'm going to kind of refer to as kind of like that slow burn anger. That's kind of just like deep down, that you're kind of like just holding on to something that you've just been kind of like holding on to for so long. And maybe you don't even realize that you actually have that anger going on in you because you've been dealing with something for so long. But you have this anger deep down in you that just, you kind of help set you off for everything that's out there. And you just have to be so careful of that because it causes these problems that you may not even realize you have. Like when I was little, my birth father left when I was about 6 or so, and he went and got remarried, and they had a big old family together, and he pretty much kind of, distanced himself from me or whatever. And I didn't realize at the time because I was like 6, and then as I grew up, I still didn't realize. But man, it caused a lot of anger in me. And maybe that's why I had a short fuse as a kid, is I just had this burning anger going on because of the separation from my dad growing up. And it caused all sorts of problems in my life, including the fact that I essentially became an atheist because of that. Because my birth father considered himself a Christian, even though he wasn't acting that way. So in my heart, I just said, that's it. If he's a Christian, I don't want nothing to do with Christians. I was angry at every Christian on the planet because of the way one person responded and acted. And so you have to be so careful of that slow burn anger that's down in you. Ephesians 4:26 says it this way. It says, and don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. Because as soon as you go to sleep on something, if you ever try to go to sleep when you're angry about something, and it's like you're just like can't sleep, you're just like so fired up, you don't wake up like relieved. You're like still fired up when you wake up. You're like all tense still and everything. And then all of a sudden that thing's just like lives with you. It just continues to kind of to breed in you and just kind of just fester up in you. And so you have to be so careful of that slow burn anger that's going on, and just recognize when it's happening, because it can definitely lead to sin because you may not realize it building over time. So number 3 on your outline is this. Number 3 is Jesus controlled his anger. Jesus controlled his anger. And this is what we need to learn how to do, because you're going to get angry. I get angry still. I'm not nowhere near perfect. Just ask my wife or my kids or any of my friends. Not perfect at all. So you're going to get angry. That's fine. Just realize how you need to react to that anger. Does anybody here know what the golden rule is? Yes. Treat others, do to others as you would like them to do to you, is the translation that I pulled out of Luke 6:31. Did everybody know that came from the Bible? That was actually, it sounds like just some old wives' tale type of thing, but it's actually from the Bible. Do to others as you would like them to do to you. And if you think about that, as you think about how to control your anger, it may help you realize how you should respond to people when things are happening to you. And maybe it'll help you kind of release some of that, because you don't want somebody angry at you for a lifetime, so maybe you shouldn't be angry at somebody else for a lifetime. So maybe it can kind of teach you how to deal with some of that. James 1:19 says this. It says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen. Are you listening? Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That's tough to do, that quick to listen but slow to speak. Because usually when somebody's saying something, you're already thinking about what you're going to say back. and you're not even listening anymore because you're already building your response in your head of what you're going to say, and the minute they take a breath, you're going to spit out your answer. But the Bible says you need to be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires, does not produce the fruit of the Spirit. It does not produce what God has designed you for. Anger does not help you with any of that. And perhaps you've sinned against somebody. Perhaps you've said something to somebody. You've gossiped against somebody. You've repeated something you shouldn't have. You acted a fool. Whatever it was, maybe you've sinned against somebody else. And you need to fix that tonight. You need to bury that situation, because that is still going to create that anger because you think it's unresolved at this point. Ephesians 4:31 says this. It says, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior." You have to get rid of all of that stuff. Because if not, anger is going to get that foothold. The devil's going to get that foothold on you. So you need to get rid of all that bitterness, that rage, that anger, those harsh words, that slander that's going on in your life. So I have 2 next steps for you guys tonight. And everybody here can do one of these 2 next steps. So I challenge you to mark this on your connection card as we talk about them. The first one is this. The first one is, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, it's going to be hard for you to figure all this out. But he's the one that can bring you peace from that anger. That slow burn anger you have, that quick temper anger you have. A relationship with Jesus can fix that. So if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, when I get ready to pray in a few minutes, you can ask him to be the Lord of your life and to help you control your anger. Ask him to come into your heart and control that anger that you have. And here's the other next step that everybody in the room can definitely take. And this one's going to be harder. And that is, ask for forgiveness to those I've sinned against in anger. That's going to be tough. Because that's kind of admitting you were wrong, right? That's why you're asking for forgiveness. You're going to admit to somebody, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have acted that way. I'm sorry I was angry, I was hurt. If you go to somebody with that attitude, though, it's going to mend that so much for them, for you. Just admit, I lost my cool, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. It's not what I meant. But you made me mad, I was angry, I was hurt. So I want you guys to think about tonight who it is that you can ask for forgiveness from, so that you can both be healed from that anger that caused that sin in your life. So with that, I'm going to ask everybody to bow their heads and we'll pray before the band comes up and sings their last song. God, thank you for tonight that we can be here and just start to talk about the story of Jesus' life. God, he made such an impact in so many areas, but I feel like this is one that's just so important because everybody deals with anger. And we just need to figure out how to deal with anger without sinning. So God, just work in our heart tonight to help us control that anger, to not be quick to say something or act out when we're not happy about a situation. God, just give us that strength. God, if there's anybody here tonight that doesn't know you as the Lord and Savior of their life, God, I ask that they right now in their seats just quietly say to themselves, God, come into my life, be the Lord of my life, and help control my anger. Change my heart, God, so I won't be angry anymore. And God, as all the students here and all the adults here tonight think about that person that they need to ask for forgiveness from, God, let that just stir in their heart tonight, God, until they have the strength, the 2 seconds of courage it's going to take to ask for forgiveness from that person that they sinned against due to anger. And let those relationships just be healed. Let them move on from that anger, that torment that's holding them back. God, I just ask that you just continue to work in the students' lives and just continue to reveal to them, God, when they've made a mistake and they need to ask for forgiveness for it. God, continue to just help these students grow in your likeness. And everybody said, amen.